Hello, Pile One, and welcome to this reading on how you've been personally victimized by love. Now, in the past, when I've done this reading, I did answer that question when I was doing this reading, why were you personally victimized by love? And I would basically give the reading an opportunity to look at an instance where you were hurt by love and why that had to happen, and that's what that reading was about. But now that I've been doing this a couple of years, I have other readings that I do feel cover this topic a lot better because of the structure of the reading. That's going to be the Safe Passage to Love, which I will leave in the description. And that now that I have that reading, which again I feel covers that topic a lot better, I kind of had this idea to now give this reading the opportunity to kind of be a look, because in the past I've used the wording of a peek at the burn book of Venus as kind of like the byline for this reading, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to give love the opportunity to be mean, to kind of just give you a roasting and see what it might look like if love had a burn book. What would your entry look like? Made out with the hot dog to gate a function, things like that. Like, what would be your entry? And so I intended this to be lighthearted and cheeky and fun. What ended up happening is that it is very, very tough love. It is this mean. I mean, it's mean because she's being brutally honest, and so it feels mean, but it is tough love in that it is a necessary message. And so I'm giving that disclaimer because this one is, I wanted to say a slap to the face, but this one feels like a sock to the gut. And so just, brace yourself. I am going to be quick and direct about it because I don't want to prolong this lashing session. There is very little comfort in this message. And I am saying that so that you understand what it is that you're getting into. This is love calling you out for what you've done. And so, okay, I usually also, before I begin, like to spend time, and this is what this card means, and this is what it could mean in other contexts, but because of these other cards, I like to give like a full breakdown. I'm not going to do that here, because again, there's just no point. The message is tough already. Okay, this message is for you if you are familiar with infidelity and not from the place of being victimized by it. So basically, that's a really roundabout way of saying this is your reading if you've cheated. Not that you've been cheated on, that could be true, but this is specifically if you have cheated, if you have engaged in infidelity at whatever end of the spectrum, because there is a spectrum here. Just to cover the bases and just so you don't try to shirk away like this reading isn't for me. No, there are some of you who were within a connection and then cheated, and there are some of you who went and knocked on the door of something established. And so that doesn't necessarily say that you were the cheater, but you did engage with someone that you knew was with someone else, and you did so knowingly, and that's what we're talking about here. And so if you know that that is something that you've done, love is here to say that you're receiving this message because you have reached a point where you do recognize that this is a problem, that this is something that you're willing and ready to change. And so in order for that to happen, what you need to understand, in order for you to change and really stop moving in this way, it's that you take a good look at yourself and the way that you move and the motivations behind it, and be honest with yourself about what you find there. And if you're looking at yourself and you're kind of like, okay, well, that I do it for these reasons, and you have a perfect excuse for every single thing that you do, I want you to then compare yourself, and that's never the name of the game. We never want to compare ourselves to anybody. Fuck that. But I do want to say, in this case, within the context of this specific reading, you do want to look at someone who you admire, and maybe you don't have to admire them, actually. It's just someone that you recognize has healthy relationships. Not just one, but relationships. And I'm not talking multiple romantic relationships, because that's just another. And like, if it's not a polyamorous thing, then that it's also infidelity, and we're trying to move away from that. I'm talking about they have good friends. They have healthy relationships with family members, if that's something that's possible. Anywhere that they go, like they maintain good connections with people. This is who I'm talking about. If you know someone like that, I want you to take a look at them and see how they move differently. And why that's being called to question is because what you're being asked to confront within yourself, and this is the difficult part, is a lack of maturity. Multiple cards. There are 3 different decks that I'm using. Each deck, in some way, shape, or form, calls you immature. It is pointing out a lack of maturity. And that's what's being said, is that you need to understand that the reason that you're doing this is because there are things that you are not addressing, things that you are running away from, because you have deemed them too big, too uncomfortable, too dangerous to sit with. Now, for some of you, very likely most of you, this is something that, like so many other things, stems from long ago, when you were shown, however many times, in whatever shape or form, that anytime that you did that was a very dangerous thing. Maybe when you were a toddler, you cried a little too long about something you had no control over, and there was a physical reaction from your caretakers, and so that might have cemented into tiny toddler you's brain that isn't, you can't express loudly, or you can't express, like, this doesn't necessarily have to be like, we don't need to get into the nitty-gritties of why it is that you move this way. It's just being pointed out that you're coming, okay, it's not just that this reading is calling you immature, it's that you're coming to this reading because it's now time for you to receive it, which in and of itself is a sign of maturing. So congratulations. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you can take this on the chin, means you are maturing. The fact that you can be self-aware of that you've done this means you are maturing. So hey, snaps to you. Which, side note, let me just say, if you're feeling in any way, shape, or form judged by me, the reader, I can't judge you. I've done my own things. Things I am not proud of, and so I do this work specifically to talk to people like myself who have had a lot to make up for and have done a lot of work to do so. And so please don't think that I am judging you. I am here giving you snaps and cheerleading you on, because this is the beginning of a very important journey. And it's, for you, it feels like you're starting this journey partially because of you becoming self-aware of this, but it's very likely also because you're becoming self-aware of other aspects of your life that you're not super happy with. And so I'm excited for you, because although it feels tempestuous and hard and difficult right now, like this reading of, we're sitting in this discomfort together, although it's difficult, it's like the fact that you're able to do it means you're gonna go far. Like, it means that you are actually ready for this journey. And so that's what I'm excited for you to engage with and see more of. And that's very much denoted here with how the World card is here. Yes, it's coming up reversed, but it's coming up reversed because it's a gateway into that maturity. I'm not into maturity, but it's a gateway that it's like the start of this path that I'm talking about. And thus far, you haven't stepped through that threshold and onto that journey for whatever reason, and that's why it's coming up reversed. But the fact is that it's there. That pathway, that opening, that threshold, the beginning of the journey is there. And yes, part of that journey will be taking accountability. To what level will be different. There are some of you that part of that accountability is you just not just being honest with yourself, but also being honest with those that you have wronged. There are those of you that's not called for, but there are those of you who know, that's true. For all of you across the board, it's the confrontation with the self. It's the confrontation with the fact that you've done what you've done, that you feel the way that you feel about it, and that does mean something about you, that you're now starting to accept about yourself. And so the point is, so much accountability that you're willing to take on so much discomfort and honesty, that in and of itself is a good thing. And it's that it's a good thing doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to feel good. Being honest often means sitting in these uncomfortable confrontations and uncomfortable conversations and et cetera, et cetera. That's often what it means. So like that it's a good thing doesn't mean it's going to feel good. But I promise you, after a while, when you live in such an honest way for long enough, there is a peace that comes with it. It is a stark contrast from the guilt of having wronged someone. The knowledge that that's how you've moved and that that's what it means. And if people know that about you, that it is something that is going to like, there is an opinion that someone can hold about you if they don't know this about you, and there is an opinion that someone can have after they know this about you. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. And so, yes, the point of this message is to congratulate you in part for taking it on, yes, but it's also pointing out the journey is just beginning. Those of you who are here are at different points on that journey where some of you haven't taken those steps. Some of you are starting it. Some of you have. The point is continue on that journey and know that, yes, those confrontations, whether with yourself or others, are difficult. That in and of itself is regarded in a much better way, not just by those around you, but by love, by energy, by divinity, if that's something that you believe in, by karma, whatever it is. Energetically, it will feel better in the long run. It kind of feels like going on a diet and exercising, where at first when you do it, it's like, this is so lame. I hate this. Every part of my body hates this. I want to have fattening foods and I don't want to hurt anymore. For however long, every day, or however, like your workouts, like if you work out every morning for 15 minutes, like I don't want to hurt every day for 15 minutes. My point is, over time, when you do that and those things start to become a habit and you start to register physically, mentally, hell, even emotionally, the benefits of taking care of yourself that way, it's undeniable. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Your diet and exercise is something that you do for your physical body. These confrontations and the things that you're starting to address, this journey of introspection and honesty and accountability, that is something that is uncomfortable now, but that in the long run will manifest in something that is undeniable, by yourself, but also by others. When you move in this way, that you can feel it on someone when they are just honest and they have nothing to lie about and they wear everything on their chest because that's just how they move. And that's something that can be felt. And that's what I'm talking about. It'll be something that won't just be undeniable to you internally. It'll be undeniable in your energy, in the way that you carry yourself, and to those around you. So see, not so brutal, but still a little brutal. My friend, I hope this reading had something for you. Godspeed on that journey that you're on and in all of your endeavors. And I hope to catch you at another reading. Bye. Hi, hello, Pile 2, and welcome to this reading on your entry in Love's Burn Book. And this was obviously, it's Mean Girls inspired, but this isn't the only Mean Girls reading that I have, because in the past Valentine's Days, I have done what is pick a card if you've ever felt personally victimized by love, which covers just that. If you've ever gone through something that you feel was love personally victimizing you, it's a chance for love to elaborate on why that happened. And from that stemmed this idea because in the past I've used the byline, a peek at the Burn Book of Venus, when I was talking, when I've done that reading in the past. And I don't know, I sat with that and I really liked it. And so I came into this reading with the intention of creating very lighthearted, kind of playful type of readings. And that's not what's happening. What's coming through is really intense, not really. This one's not as intense as Pile 1, but it is still important and it is still very heavy hitting. And so I'm just kind of letting you know that this isn't going to be a super comfortable reading. It's not the worst, because Pile 1 definitely was a doozy, but this one it's just, let's just, at the end of the day, it is a peek inside a burned book, which means it's love roasting you a little bit. So, if love had a burned book, what would the entry about you say? In essence, it would, I don't know exactly how she would word it, but she's basically calling you out for being an individual that has so much to give. And I'm not just talking about love and love in romance, because that's true. Of course, you have a lot of love to give, and in romantic union, you give a lot. Yes, that's that, but that's not what we're talking about here. The way that it's coming through, and this is going to be true whether you are in a committed relationship or not. It's just that if you're single now, it's basically putting this out so you address this, and it's not a problem once you are in a relationship. You make your relationship your end all be all, meaning you will allow other relationships to fall to the wayside. You will not engage in new relationships, platonic, even like just because that's all it can. I mean, I don't know how. In some rare instances, I guess you could get a new family connection, from like long loss or something. But it's like you just, for you, it's like that's it on the checklist of what'll make a happy life for you. It's just a relationship, and that is it. And that's what's being pointed out. That's what's being called out as okay. And again, this is tough love. It's meant to be. We're trying to prove a point here. There are people who are simple minded enough that a relationship is all that they genuinely will need in this life, because that relationship will take care of their needs. Now, in some cases that sucks, because that's more often than not a man who finds a woman to take care of him. Sure, there are some women who find other people to take care of them. Gender doesn't really matter here. But my point, that's not what I'm picking up on here. It's being pointed out clearly in every layer of this reading that you are way too big, way too bright, way too unique of an energy, of a presence, for you to keep yourself shuttered away in that little relationship of yours. Now, it's only coming through that way, that little relationship of yours, not because it's coming through that the relationship doesn't matter or that it's less than. It's that there's more to life than that relationship. What's coming through is oh my god, is it the third season of Stranger Things? When they have like the whole summer thing and they're at the mall, and the main couple breaks up. These are a bunch of kids, if you haven't watched it, so it's not that severe. These kids break up, and this is her first breakup, and she's never really had a friend that's a girl. And her friend that's a girl takes her to the mall, and they go shopping, and they have this whole fun day without the boys, and it's just them being girls. And why that scene sticks out to me so much, I've carried it with me since I watched it, because it was so cute. Because as they're having fun and they're giggling, the friend tells her, see, there's so much more to life than stupid boys. And when I watched that, I mean, I was already an adult, so I already knew that. But it's like, I wish I had had a friend at that age, little teeny bopper, telling me that there is so much more to life than stupid boys, than, a romantic union. Because it's true. Now that I've lived that experience, I know that to be true, because, there's nothing else to say about it. It's the truth. It's not that a relationship cannot be a fulfilling thing. And it's not to say that a relationship isn't a worthwhile pursuit. Again, point blank, what's being said in this reading is that you have the tendency to, and I'm just picture this. I'm not saying that you do this, but this is just kind of like the image that's coming through. It's like you find your partner and you guys move in together after like however long, and that's it for you. That's it. You don't go out anymore. You don't take yourself out. I mean, look at the way that these cards are spread out. We have the house, we have the key, and we have a woman sitting on a chair reading a letter. The house, that's you in the union. That's something that's stable, that you've built and that you are comfortable within. Great, phenomenal. The key means that you can come in and out of this space as you wish. And why that's coming through specifically, that you hold the key, is because there's a stark difference between an individual who does not have the option to go out and have fun and create connections with their friends or whatever. And I'm talking specifically about those who are stuck in abusive relationships. Their partners are envious, controlling, whatever you want to call it. And, it's like, well, why didn't you tell me you were going to do that? You have to, and these are the people who talk like, well, I have to ask my partner to see if I can go. Things like that. Like, that is a truth. And the fact that the key is coming up here in the middle, that's not true for you. And so it's like, I don't know that your partner, whether hypothetical or not, whether you're actually in a relationship or we're talking about how you are in a relationship once you get into one, you might have a partner that is going to vocally tell you like, hey, go have friends. Like, I hang out with my friends. Like, you should hang out with your friends. Like, go out and be social. You might have someone who's like, dude, yeah, go. In other cases, it's that you've never had that conversation. God forbid, maybe you're operating because in the past you have been in that type of abusive relationship. And so you're just operating under that assumption because you've never had that conversation with this partner. And for like the way that these cards are coming out, it's like your partner would not mind at all you going and having, I'm sorry that this is the way that it's coming through, but these are the words that are coming through. They're not going to mind you having a life of your own outside of the relationship. And okay, and then with letter here, it's like you're happy just sitting there in your comfort zone. Just it kind of feels like you just scroll on Instagram or socials, and you're looking at your old friends and what they're doing, and that's enough for you. Like, you never had a falling out with them or anything, but you feel like it's enough for you to just be able to look at their life unfold from a distance. Like the way that it's worded in what movie is that? Oh my god, it's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, where the gargoyles are talking to Quasimodo and they're like, life is not a because they're spectators, because they're statues, so all they can do is like stay in one space, even though they don't in the movie, but whatever it is. He's telling him like life is not a spectator sport, like telling him to get in there. And that's what it's coming through like for you. Like, you're not Quasimodo because you're not being kept here by some Lord Frollo. You have full range, and yet you stay within this little comfortable confine for whatever reason. For some of you, again, like we've talked about, it's a little bit of trauma because of what we've been through in the past, and so it's just about you going out and seeing like, oh yeah, right, I can do that. For others of you, it's more so of like, it's a comfort zone, and you're more so, it feels like, what's that word for people who don't like to go out? Is it hypochondriac? No, that's when you're paranoid about it. Whatever. A misanthrope. You're misanthropic, where you it almost feels like, no, well, I've got my partner and I'm happy here. I've got my little stuff here at home. Like, why do I need to go out? Why do I need to go out there? It could go as far as like social anxiety. The point is, because you have the relationship, you feel in your eyes that that's all you need, and well, okay, I'm satisfied. And why that's a problem is because you yourself are being pointed out as being something that is, again, and I'm sorry to keep on apologizing for the words that are coming through. I'm not being exaggerative. Like, this is literally what's being channeled. The word that's coming through is you're magnificent. Like, there is something that you have that needs to be shared. And it's not just about giving other people the benefit of your presence, which is very true here. It feels like there is something about your truth. There's something about like, it could be just one simple conversation. I don't want to call it simple, but one single conversation you might have when you go out there that is why you're being called out. Like, there's something that you can say or something that you can do, or I don't know. But it feels like more than you benefiting from you coming out and making yourself available to old friends, new friends, whatever the case is. It feels okay, because I'm a tarot reader, and I personally don't like to make my entire channel about love readings, which is why I relegate all love readings to Valentine's Day, the love festival. Regardless of that, any tarot reader can tell you that 90% of the problem with people that comes through in those love readings, at least for me and the ones that I've seen, is people's reluctance, sometimes downright refusal to put themselves out there because it's just too uncomfortable. It feels awkward or cringe or whatever. Like, okay, and if that's the case, you've got bigger problems. If you're still dealing with cringe, if you're still dealing with it's too much to socialize, I'm going to need you to take a few steps back, and we've got bigger problems than love and romance, which if you're already in a relationship, then that's not your problem. I'm talking about if you're single. If you are single and you're trying to hop into a relationship, friend, you've got bigger fish to fry right now. And it's not so much that, hey, you're not deserving of love until you take care of these things. No, not at all. You're lovable right now. And if there is someone that you know you want to pursue, then please do so. If it's appropriate and, you know, it's mutual. Like, don't be a creep. My point is, if you're single and it's like you're trying to get into a relationship, well, how about first we just get comfortable with socializing in general? How about first we deal with, because if this is a loneliness thing, like if you're feeling lonely, and that's not, it doesn't feel like that's true for a lot of you, but if it is a lonely thing, a relationship is not the only end all be all solution to that problem. There are other types of relationships that can be just as fulfilling, if not more fulfilling, than a romantic one. There are plenty of people who can tell you about that. Ask anybody who's been divorced. Even if they're happily in a relationship and married again, a lot of divorced people will tell you that they've found fulfillment in their other relationships rather than the romantic one, and that's what their romantic one can be. So that's not going to be true across the board, of course, but that's something that I've heard consistently from some of the divorced people that I've spoken to and that I've heard talk about the matter. The point is, a big part of the problem is always like putting ourselves out there, and it's like, okay, let's deal with that problem first. How do we deal with that? That's going to be a reading for another time, because that's not what we're here for today. Well, actually, it kind of is what we're here for today. Now that I'm looking down at the tarot cards, I'm like, we're kind of addressing that right there. So I guess we'll get to that in a second. But okay, I've spoken enough about this problem. You are the type of person, you have so much to give of yourself, so much to offer, and you keep it tucked away. And it really does feel like, because the words that we're going to come through is like, you keep it tucked away for your partner. It honestly feels like you don't even do that. Like, it's not, maybe it is. Like, if your great, phenomenal personality is something that's like your partner gets to benefit from, cool. But it kind of feels like for some of you, just to give an example, I'm not kind of saying that I'm channeling this or picking this up, just to give an example, maybe you have like this talent for playing the guitar, playing an instrument, and you just, even you haven't done that before you met your partner, or like maybe your partner doesn't know about that and they've heard you play, they know, and it's like, little do you know that if you took your guitar and let's say you're good at it in this hypothetical, you go out and you start playing, you could actually, like, I don't want to say make some money that way, because yeah, that's true. But it's like, it feels like you go out into a park and you start jamming, and like within an hour, there's another musician that you see strolling by, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to jam?" And it just turns into like this very organic connection. And that's what I mean. It's like, little do you know, there's this thing tucked away that you don't bring out for anyone, or maybe just your partner, or where you're comfortable. And it's like, if you were to put that out, there's so much, like, that thing and you would be like magnetic. And maybe that sounds like a nightmare to you, because it's like, oh my god, people, and that's true for those of you that I'm talking, have like that social anxiety aspect of it. But the point is, across the board, that thing that you're hiding away, whether it's you or a talent, whatever it is, it needs to be brought out, and that's why this reading is coming out, and that's why you're kind of being roasted in that way, where it's like, you have this incredible thing and you keep it tucked away, and it's, why are you doing that? Bring it out. Okay, let's get into the tarot portion. We have the Four of Swords, the Seven of Cups, and the Ace of Swords, all upwards, which is phenomenal. I'm just saying, because whatever, really good vibes here is basically what I'm getting from the fact that it's all upwards. I also kind of want to take a second to point out that the Four of Swords and the Ace of Swords book ending the Cups card, I'm going to talk about it in a second, but the symmetry feels significant. Okay, the Four of Swords is point blank talking about, it's pointing out that the relationship satisfies a particular part of you. Okay, how do I word this? The swords are the mental suit, and the fours are some type of structure. So I'm looking at this card as a mental structure. And within the context of this reading, I'm seeing this card and the way that it's landing as the relationship, again, whether hypothetical or whether we're in it right now, that checks off this huge box for you, and because that has been met, you feel satisfied. Um, it kind of feels like a pyramid of needs. It feels like what the Four of Swords in this context feels like, all of those needs being met, and you sitting comfortably in this space, in this life of all of your needs being met. I want to point out also, before I move on, that the way the card is drawn and structured, these curved swords are casing in this flower. And it isn't a singular flower because there's four other flowers in the card, but this is the biggest, most formed flower because it has its stem, it has its leaves, and it has the bigger petals, where the other flowers are just a top view, so we can only see the petals. And so that's what's really coming through, where it's like, here you are, encased, cocooned comfortably within the confines, and that's the wrong word for it, but within the stability and the comfort of that relationship. And that's great and that's good. But you're being described as this flower, and here you're encased by this structure. And yes, it's a good thing. It's kind of coming through as a pot within which you can root and grow and be taken care of. You know, the nourishment can go directly into the pot. You don't have to, if you're the flower in this scenario, you don't have to share those nutrients or the water, etc., with any other flower. It's just you, and that's why the structure is good. That's why I was really careful to step back what I said about that little relationship, because it's like, no, the relationship is good and steady and healthy. And that's why it's a good thing. It's not that none of this reading is kind of coming through as like, that relationship is bad. No, it's you that's the problem. It's the way that you hold that relationship. It's like, well, I have this, so I don't need anything else. That's the problem. Okay. Moving on. The Seven of Cups is... Okay, I actually want to skip ahead from the Seven of Cups because just... Okay. If the Four of Swords is the structure of your relationship, and you are the flower there within the card. The Ace of Swords is you. It's that flower that's sitting within the confines of the swords in the Four of Swords. And here it is now unreleased. It's free. It's by itself. And so it's not saying to get rid of the relationship. It's just that you need to start looking at, okay, there's the relationship, and yes, a relationship is a union. So it's you and your partner, but there has to exist who's you, just you. If you've never watched Steven Universe and you like cartoon shows, please do. But later on, after the original run ended, they did like one season, I think it was like 12 episodes of, it was like an epilogue season where it's like some years into the future, and it really brings a lot of conclusion to a lot of storylines. It's really neat. Why am I bringing that up? Because in the story, and if you haven't watched it, I am going to spoil it a little bit, but they're aliens, and they're all they can fuse together to create like a bigger unit, and when they fuse together, they become one person. And the show very often utilizes that plot as like that detail to be a metaphor for actual relationships. And so there are fusions where they're called gems. They're an alien form, but we call them gems because they have gems, whatever. When two gems fuse, let's say like there's this one fusion where it's like a bad guy, and she's not bad, she's not good, she's kind of like an anti-hero type of thing. And when they fuse, they create this very weird looking unsustainable kind of toxic fusion, because that's what their union is. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's these two gems who have such a stable and compatible relationship that when they fuse, they look like just a normal bigger gem. And for the first part of the show, during all of those seasons, they stay as one person the whole time, and very rarely do they ever separate. But in that epilogue season, when everyone's more mature, it's a really big deal that they do spend time apart, that they unfuse, and that one gem goes off and she does her thing over there, and then the other gem breaks off and goes and does her thing over there. they really hone in on the fact that that's important, that you can't just be together all the time, that it's important that you stand on your own and that you are looked at as your own and that you have your own autonomy and your own agency. And why this is coming through is that it's not that you are committing this heinous crime of not of like repressing yourself or like not allowing yourself to be yourself. It's just more so that it's time for you to start moving in this way because the relationship is stable and healthy. And even if you're single now, you're being told this so that you know what to look for when you start to build that connection. Is this an individual who will allow me to stand on my own? Is this an individual who's going to give me a hard time for wanting to go and do my own thing every now and again? Is this an individual who's going to be cool with that? And that, so that it starts to inform the way that you choose a partner. Okay, so the Four of Swords, the wonderful structure of that relationship, of that union in which you feel satisfied, and then the Ace of Swords is, yes, I'm still swords, I'm still part of that, but I am also here on my own, by myself, standing on my own 2 feet, doing my own thing. And so the Seven of Cups there in the middle, if we look at the Seven of Cups, it's so full. Like almost every part of the card is drawn into, like, even though these are very clean in their aesthetic, the cards, like, look at the Four of Swords, like everything is perfectly in its place, nothing is touching, everything's perfectly symmetrical, well, mostly, except for the flower in the middle that represents you here. But even so, the order of the card cannot be denied. And then even the Ace of Swords, which does break the structure and it's like an actual drawing of a sword in the hand, there's nothing in the background. And yes, that's true for all the cards. But look at how the Seven of Cups really feels like it's the card that fills up most of the card. If there is empty space, it's not very much of it. And why that's coming through is that this really feels like an environment where there is a lot of people. It almost feels like each of these cups represents a different person. And that's why that bookend kind of felt important, where we have the Swords card representing the relationship over here on the left, and then we have the Swords card representing you over there on the right, and between you two is all of these people. And it's not at all saying, invite all these people into your relationship. No, it's just this understanding that when you look at your life, it's not just you and it's not just your partner, but it's also all of these other individuals that you're holding relationships with. And that then means that you have this full life, because it's not just one relationship that you're placing all of your weight onto. You now have this support system, this that you can rely on, and now you have like this one friend that you can go shopping with because they go at your pace, and there's this other friend that you can sit on the phone with for literally like 6-8 hours, and it feels like 2 because you two just talk so well, and you guys love to talk, and you guys have a really interesting takes, and you have this other friend that loves to play the video game that you like, so you can play with them. And that's what I mean. It's like now you don't have all of these expectations that your partner has to meet, or maybe they don't have to, but it's like now instead of your partner in relationship meeting all of your needs, you now have like your own made family of people that you can rely on and depend on, that you have relationships with. And so that's kind of it being said, where it's like, okay, yes, having a relationship is a great and fantastic thing, but let's start filling up the space of your life, like this card. Like, let's start filling in those empty spaces so that you can have a fuller and therefore a more fulfilled life. Yeah, my friend, that's what I have for you here today. I really hope that this reading had something for you. Godspeed on all of your endeavors, and I hope to catch you at another reading. Bye. Hello, Pile 3, and welcome to this reading. Before I begin, I have been mentioning how this is the second Mean Girls inspired reading, which was actually, the idea for this one came from me working on the other Mean Girls reading that I have, which is pick a card if you've ever felt personally victimized by love. But in the past, I've used the byline of a peek at the burn book of Venus. And I really liked that idea. And it wasn't until this year that I was like, let's actually do it. Let's actually like give love the opportunity to be mean, to give these like messages. Like, what would it look like if you had an entry in Love's Burn Book, what would that look like? And I intended for the reading to be very lighthearted and, kind of like playful. And that's not what's been happening. The readings that have been coming through have been intense and important. The first one was one of these piles is very uncomfortable. This one isn't, but it is just as important. It is just as heavy, and it is talking about things that need to be addressed in order for you to be more fulfilled, not only in life, but in love. And the message that's coming through here is pretty direct. All of these have been. And I've said it before every reading where it's like, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. And I really haven't, but this one probably will be the shortest. And for no other reason than that, there's not much I can say. It's very clear and direct. If there were an entry in Love's Burn Book about you, it would basically point out that you are the type of individual to... It's more than just give a shot. You'll build an entire relationship and future with an individual who is not worthwhile. With the gambler right next to the snake. Pretty clear cut right there. But the message that the song that was coming through, I think it's called Champagne by 311. I'm pretty sure. I'm 90% sure that's what it's called. I haven't listened to that song in years. But one of the things that struck me about that song that I always remember is it says, here I am. No. I don't remember how exactly it goes. I was about to try to sing it for you, but he basically says, hedging my bets with other girls. In essence, it's not just about one relationship, but he's going to make sure that he's got other things to kind of make himself feel like stable and cozy, which shitty and immature, but whatever. But why the song came through is because Champagne is a song by 311, if I haven't already said that. But another song that's very popular by them, or their most popular song, is going to be Amber. And the roses in the gambler card are of an amber color, and the fruit in the snake card are also of an amber color. And so, and even beyond that, the mountain card is 21, which reduces to 3, and the next card is an 11 card. So it's like, I don't know, there might be something about 311 for y'all. Take that as a deeper confirmation. The point is, with the gambler and with snake, not a good individual, especially not in a relationship. This is someone who is not only capable, but willing, comfortable, happy to say whatever they need to, lie to your face in order to go and do whatever it is that they want to do. The gambler energy is one where it's not just about what I have here, it's also about what I've got going on over there and over there and over there. Hedging my bets, basically. I'm making sure that I'm always going to be safe and that I'm not ever, in this case, alone. This is an individual who's just never going to be single, never going to be alone. Even when you leave them, you're because of the way that they move, you know that they have someone else that they're going to go and, be with. And that's their problem. It's really coming through that part of why you stay so long is because you feel like if you stay long enough, if you do X, Y, and Z, then they'll finally open their eyes and stop being who they are and change for you and realize that you're worthy enough to change. And I'm sure that you are. I'm not doubting that you're worth the change. What I'm saying is that their capacity for change is what's doubtful. Why? Because none of the cards that are describing the situation are ones that give any type of way for any type of improvement. I already talked about the gambler and the snake card. Mountain is a long, treacherous journey that is meant to be difficult. It's meant to be a mountain to traverse. And typically when we talk about mountains, there's so many idioms that talk about metaphors that talk about mountains as the obstacle. It's not just about reaching the peak. Sometimes that's what it's about, but sometimes the mountain itself is in the way of the journey, and so we have to get to the peak and then back down to the bottom. So mountain is not an easy card to have. And then with whip, it's something that is consistent at the most neutral, most positive meaning of this card is something that's consistent, and if it's applying to the rest of these cards, that he's a snake and that he's a mountain, that let me not gender it here, but that they're a snake and that they're a mountain, and that's what's going to be continuous, that's already a shitty thing. But whip is something punishing. So it's not just that this person is being described as a snake and as a mountain to you, they're also being spoken of as a punishment. It feels self-inflicted from where I'm sitting, but that doesn't necessarily have to be true. The point is, what's being said is that you're being given every indication that this is not a space for you to invest yourself and your love in, and yet there you are, investing yourself and your love into that relationship. Okay, if you're still here, it's because you are aware that it's a problem, and you're in some way, shape, or form ready and or willing to take on the work necessary to get you to where you need to go away from all of this. And the name of the game here is, in essence, one of retrospect and the discomfort of confronting what you find when you think back on why exactly you've accepted so much. And okay, I feel like I'm kind of, let me hone in it a little more, because these three tarot cards, which are in essence giving us the advice from love to you on this matter, it's not much, I'm going to be honest with you. And it's not that you're not being given more advice because you're not worthy or because you're not ready for it. It's coming through that you're being given very simple advice, because that very simple advice is what's going to get you to where you need to go to get on to the more nitty gritty stuff. It's just that first we need to do this simple step, and when we do that long enough, then the rest of it will start to unravel. What is this simple step? What I already said, retrospect. It's about, okay, if you're in a relationship, in a committed relationship to someone that you know isn't worth it, first steps first, get yourself out. That's prerequisite before we even get to this advice. But the point is, once you're out, to look back on, if it's one relationship that we're talking about, the one, if it's that you know that this is a pattern and you've been doing it, looking at the relationships that meet the requirements for what we're talking about here, where it's you giving a chance to someone you know you have no business giving a chance to because they are not worthy of that chance. It's about you looking at those instances and just literally just remembering them as accurately as you can. I met this individual here. This is when we started talking, why we started talking, what we were talking about. This is why I started to like them. This is how they reacted to this. This is how they reacted to that. This is how I reacted to this. Then this happened. Just remember everything as clearly as you can. Write it in a journal if you have to. The point is to remember things as clearly as you can, because it is in the details of the memory. The proof is in the pudding. There's something about when you think about it and why you were moving in the way that you were moving, what it was that drove you to make those. The more that you sit with it, that will start to unravel itself to you. That's what will reveal itself to you. You just have to remember. And as accurately as you can. And it's not that, okay, after this reading, I'm going to go and take 20 minutes to sit down and remember it as accurately as I can. And once I remember it, I'll be okay. No. You're hearing me wrong. You have to practice that for a while. Maybe not every day. If this is something that's fresh and you don't want to sit with this every day, it would benefit you to sit with every day, because you're probably still going to feel it every day. But the point is to set time aside, at least weekly, but multiple times a week, if not daily, where you are allowing yourself to sit in the discomfort of the feelings of regret, of grief that it's over, of anxiety and grief if you still have to do that and end it. The point is, when you remember things so often that it doesn't feel as fresh anymore, when you've been thinking about this for so long that it takes on a whole different set of emotions, because it now stops being an actual relationship that you're in and now starts to think, it turns into something that you're now thinking about. That change of form, that change of structure is what gives you power over it. And again, in you dealing with it in that way where you're remembering things and remembering all the details, something will be revealed to you, not just about why that specific or those specific relationships were formed, but specifically, you'll start to unravel and really discover the rabbit hole that you can go down if you choose of why it is that you've accepted so little for so long, and why you've, spoiler alert, never felt worthy of more. My friend, I know that this one was a heavy one, and again, it's a simple message of advice because it just feels like that's the beginning of it. Just to give you a little bit more, because I didn't really talk about it, the Four of Wands is talking specifically about the structure, the way that you move in romance, in relationships, the structure, your modus operandi in connection. Thus far, and unquestioned, and the way that it stands as a problem that we're talking about here. And then in the Lovers, we have the traditional depiction of it, which depicts not just a couple, but three people, and the person in the middle having to choose between two partners. And so here's a clear, not only do we have the gambler and the snake to talk about how this person moves, the Lover's card itself is pointing out to you, like, yeah, this is who you're partnered with. Someone who is holding your hand while looking at someone and creating a relationship with that person that makes them feel comfortable enough to come over here and claim the person that you're claiming. And it's not necessarily that that's what's happening. It's just that that's why this isn't a worthy individual, because you're meeting the expectations of a relationship, but they are not. And so just to move on from that, where the Lovers is talking about the person that you're with and the way that they move, and then the Four of Wands being your modus operandi. The Page, which is always someone who is learning about something. They don't have a full any mastery of it at all. They're learning something that they will eventually master. And Swords is the mind realm, where like memories was kind of coming in through. And so he's looking back. The Page of Swords is looking back at these things, and there's always this sense of discomfort in the Page of Swords. And the discomfort is always different depending on the deck. And some it's just not an anxiety, but just like a focus that it's the opposite of relaxed. The Page of Swords is never relaxed. And it's not to say that they're nervous. It's just that the Page of Swords is always, my favorite example of the Page of Swords is when you are having your first day somewhere, whether it's school or work or in a new city, maybe or anywhere that you've never been to before. And let's talk about it in the example of like work or school, where let's say it's your first day, and so let's call it school. Not only are you learning the subject matter of the classes, which is what you're at school for in the first place, but because it's your first day, you're also learning where everything is, where all the buildings are, where your classes are. You're also learning meeting new people, and to get into the nuances of it, you're also like learning the social kind of like paradigms of each space, and like where everyone lands and your place, and there's all these things that you're taking. And so that's the Page of Swords, where it's like someone who's intaking all of this information for the first time, and it can feel overwhelming, but it just requires focus for you to really parse out everything that you're taking in for the first time. And so from that is where I'm getting that idea of thinking back and juicing or like milking everything you can from the memory of these relationships and connections that you've built that you recognize are a problem, and in you remembering that, and you juicing, and you really like when you like twist a wet towel to get all the water of it, like that's what you're being asked to do, where like you have to like really squeeze everything that you can out of it so that you can gain. And there's a lot that will be revealed to you as you remember it. And again, if it's not just about doing it like once or twice, like it's gonna be you doing this long enough that it starts to take on a different shape and form, and then from there things will be revealed. But okay, yes, now that's where I'm going to leave it. Godspeed, my friend, on your journey. I wish you all the best. I really hope that this reading had something for you, and I hope to catch you at another reading. Bye.